Coming right back. All right, we're back with the great Mitch Malloy, singer, guitarist, musician, writer, producer. You see a multitude of instruments around him. You just feel the music oozing. And gosh, we've been talking about, of course, your times with Edward Van Halen and the 5150 experiences. And of course, your solo record coming out in 92 with RCA. And of course, that video helped land that deal with Ray Daniels and the great VH. But we're talking now the last song, your amazing new solo album. And I know it's coming out in a special way with the Sing market, vinyl, all sorts of cool little extras, and I'm Living in Paradise, all the great songs. Talk about, this experience and why you put it together with Sing, and what does the last song mean, and what are you most proud of achieving with this creatively?
Right. So this is just the next step for me. I'd started recording it before I left GreatWhite. So I was already and I was just kind of dabbling, I wasn't like, because there wasn't that much time, and the schedule with GreatWhite was hectic, and I was never really felt much like doing anything else because there wasn't much, I didn't have much energy, to do anything else. So as soon as that happened, I chilled out. I got some sleep. I was relaxed. I was rested. And I'm like, I'm going to make a rock record, man. And I just jumped in. And like you said, I play everything and I do everything. And I work by myself, and it's a blast, and it's a passion work. And honestly, I've never had so much fun in my life. I mean, making the last song was like, it was the most fun I've ever had, probably musically. And I think it's probably the most gratifying as well. I love One of a Kind, the first single that's out in the video. And it's one of my favorite things I've ever done. I think it's really strong. And yeah, I mean, it's just, I can't really describe how intensive it is, doing a record by yourself like that. It's an experience I wish more guys could do, just to be able to feel that, just to do all the aspects of it, to orchestrate the whole thing. Like, oh no, the kick drum needs to do that instead of that, and just every piece of that puzzle you're putting together and you're molding it, and then there's your final, your final product, and wow, it's an amazing process. And I love it. And the last song was the last song that I wrote for the record. And I realized that it's an interesting title because people think that I'm quitting. But as far as I know, I'm not quitting. So
you haven't got a memo yet, right? You haven't got
right.
You haven't got the pink slip.
Yeah. In fact, I'm working on other stuff already. So yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, we always heard like when Prince, got his deal with Warner Brothers, and he's like playing all the instruments, and now, of course, with your experience with Edward Van Halen, his son Wolfgang, with Mammoth,
Right.
he's playing all the instruments, and you got this vision, and it's not like live you got to bring in other players, but you have this sound in your head, and if you have the ability, I think it's one of the most remarkable things to fully get an artist like yourselves, full creativity. It's rare. Like I say, we heard about Prince doing that. It goes all the way back to like late 70s, early 80s. But these days, it's possible. Digital recording, and you have all the instruments, and you know how to play drums and bass and keyboards. I think it's a special treat, for the music lovers to really get 100%, Mitch Malloy, as opposed to like, well, who's that great bass player? Oh, he's not touring with them. Oh, okay. Who's that playing drums, But no, I think it's incredible. And I know with Sing, they're all about that vinyl and that experience, taking you deeper than just an audio file,
Yeah,
And they're
they came to me and said, "Are you interested in doing vinyl?" And I said, "No, I'm not, because I know how expensive it is and I know how long it takes, and it's gonna extend my release date by months." And they were like, "Well, what if we could facilitate this for you?" And and I really like them. I really like Harry, and I have for years. We've been friends. I love the Harem Scarum guys, and yeah, and then I met the whole crew, and great bunch of guys, and what they were offering me, I really couldn't refuse, to be honest. So it did set everything back, but that's okay. It's all right.
well, yeah, it's I don't know why investors haven't, started new vinyl plants. It's not like the writings on the wall like, hey, these people are backed up. There's a huge demand. And not
Yes.
everybody's on the vinyl tip. I understand.
No,
I mean,
no, no.
us, we all grew up with vinyl. That was the only format
Yeah,
till they came out with a cassette, which was far inferior to vinyl. And then that CD gave you that pristine digital. But, as a
yeah,
recording artist and engineer producer, everybody's trying to get that analog sound through a digital medium, you know.
yeah.
Everybody wants that
Yep,
warmth for the voice and the instruments.
yep,
We all of
yep.
our favorite albums, were from the 70s and into the 80s were analog. But I know you, like most of us, strive to find that balance between the two. Digital is so much easier to work with. And I'm still amazed they used to literally take a razor blade and cut 2-inch tape and have
Oh,
pieces all over the studio and like, okay, where's
I
that
was,
other piece? Let's tape this to that. And I mean, they're
yeah,
running tape around parts of the studio
I did
doing all
it.
these mixes.
I did it. I did it. I mean, I did it. I grew up in that world. I mean, I've been in the studio for 47 years.
Hmm.
47 years. Literally. Like, I've had a studio in my house for 47 years.
Yeah. Well, you can live to tell.
Great.
And I
Yeah.
know myself seeing you at the NAM show, you're probably always looking for that new gear that has that analog or that warm sound, but it's
Yep.
it's in the digital domain where it's easy to
Yeah.
edit, easy to lay
Yep.
down.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so it's the best of both worlds, for the little bit that we
Yeah. And
lose on a 2-inch, it's just so much easier to deal with.
it's so much easier. It's so much less expensive. And now I think, like you said, obviously, about this stuff. I've been striving to reach the sonic of my first album since my first album. And, that album cost $365,000 to make.
Hmm.
So, yeah. So to recreate that by yourself, so are you going to spend $1 million and build a studio? I never was able to do that. So, um, I've just been building and building and shifting and shifting and changing and changing, and new thing comes out, a better sounding thing comes out, and da da da. And I mean, I'm to the point now where I feel like it's really arrived finally. I feel like the last song sounds like the sound I've been trying to get my whole life, like sonically, for on an engineering level, for us geek engineers, I'm in heaven. That album sounds exactly like I want it to sound. You know what I mean? Like, and I can't say that about any of the other records. So I feel like it's finally arrived to the level that I've been striving to achieve my entire career. So that's exciting.
Yeah, and us, the music lovers, we're the benefactors of all that R&D and sweat
Yeah.
and tears and the blood that you lay down to bring us this. We want to encourage everybody to go out and check out the last song, the album. I'm Living in Paradise, one of my favorite songs, and so much more on there. Yes, there's the vinyl and the
The next
CD. And
single, by the way.
oh,
Yeah.
great, fantastic. And we look forward to seeing you live, because we know you bring it to the stage just like you do in the studio, and you know what you hear in your brain, you want to hear the crowd sing along and cheer back. It's one of the greatest feelings in the world. So we look forward to seeing you take it to the streets. Our special guest is the one and only Mitch Malloy. You know him, you love him, singer, guitarist, musician, writer, producer. And again, we celebrate your great album and your history. Mitch, been a supreme pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. Look forward to talking to you down the road. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. See ya.